Well, hey, Good Life. Thank you guys for tuning in and being a part of the 128 devotional for today. And man, what an awesome time we had for Easter. I just want to say thank you guys again for tuning in and being a part of Easter Sunday together. I thought it was really special to gather online in that way as we continue to social distance and be quarantined. Coming to you today from my apartment in downtown beautiful Bradenton, Florida. And I just want to share with you some of what's in the Good Life Journal today because I think it's really timely on the end of the Easter story. And it's something that as I was looking into and reading some stuff this weekend, I think I learned something new that I want to share with you, and just an interesting way to read the scripture and look at it and what I think Jesus is doing when he says a certain phrase, and I want to dive into it. So in our Good Life Journal today, we're reading through Psalm chapter 22. Now, before I get into Psalm chapter 22, I want to revisit the crucifixion. Now, what we read in Matthew, and as we were looking at this weekend, in the crucifixion, it says this. It says that from the 6th hour, there was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice. And he said this, my God, why have you forsaken me? My God, why have you forsaken me? And then it goes on later, and it says, Jesus cried out again with a loud voice, and he yielded up his spirit. Now, Matthew doesn't record exactly what that last cry was. He just says he cried out with a loud voice. And John, we see what he cried out, and it says that Jesus cried. He said, it is finished. And he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. And here's what I think is really interesting. Remember, we're going to look at Psalm 22, and I believe that in what I was researching was that when Jesus says, my God, why have you forsaken me? You know, there's a lot of passion and a lot of drama in that moment, but I believe from at least the research I've done that Jesus isn't just coming up with that on the spot. So Jesus doesn't intend the listeners to that to just think that Jesus is crying out. He certainly is, but I believe that Jesus is referencing a prophecy. He's referencing a psalm in particular, and that psalm is Psalm 22, the one in our Good Life Journal today. And I want to read through some of Psalm 22, and in light of Jesus saying it, Jesus says, my God, why have you forsaken me? It's almost like he's telling the hearers as he's on the cross, he's telling them, hey, turn your hymnal to Psalm 22 and read with me. It's almost like he's referencing it, hoping that they'll continue in reading it. And it's incredible because this psalm is written way before the crucifixion of Jesus. In fact, this psalm was written before crucifixion was even a mode of killing someone. But the details in this psalm are just incredibly dead spot on what we see in the crucifixion of Jesus. So when Jesus says, my God, why have you forsaken me? And he cries out at last and says, it is finished. Let's look at the psalm he's referencing in Psalm 22. It starts off like this. It says, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me from the words of my groaning? Oh my God, I cry by day, but you do not answer, and by night I find no rest. I am a worm and not a man, scorned by mankind and despised by the people. Listen to the details. All who see me mock me. They make mouths at me. They wag their heads. They say, he trusts in the Lord. Let him deliver him. Let him rescue him, for he delights in him. Yet you are he who took me from the womb, who made me trust you at my mother's breast. On you was I cast from my birth, and from my mother's womb you have been my God. Be not far from me, for trouble is near, and there is none to help. Many bulls encompass me, the strong bulls of Bashan surround me. They open wide their mouths at me like a ravening and roaring lion. Again, listen to the details of this. This is incredible. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted within my breast. I don't know if you remember the details of the crucifixion, but after Jesus has died, they actually stabbed his side, and John records it as though blood and water come out. And for a long time, people thought maybe this was symbolism, and certainly there could be some symbolism. But now with modern science, we actually know that when a heart experiences that much trauma, that actually the fluid can rupture and surround the heart, so that if it was pierced like Jesus, it would appear as though water and blood come out. And even in the psalm, way before crucifixion, the psalm that Jesus is referencing says, I'm poured out like water, my heart like wax melted within my breast. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue sticks to my jaws. You lay me in the dust of death. Listen to this. He says, I can count all my bones. They stare and gloat over me. They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. But you, O Lord, do not be far off. O you, my help, come quickly to my aid. And I love this line here that he goes on and talks about the praise of the Lord, that he makes our hearts live forever. And it finally finishes with this, that this is the last line of Psalm 22. It says, "It shall be told of the Lord to the coming generation, that they shall come and proclaim his righteousness to a people yet unborn." And this is the final line of Psalm 22. It says, "They will proclaim that he has done it." That he has done it. And how does Jesus finish his last statement on the cross? He says, "It is finished." Jesus is saying all of this Old Testament work, what needed to be accomplished, it is finished. And Psalm 22 concludes that he has done it. We can read Psalm 22 not just on the surface level of a Psalm of David, but this is a psalm about our Messiah, Jesus. And as Jesus is breathing his last on the cross, he references it. And I think that's a powerful reminder for you and I that the scripture that we hold in our hands, the Jesus that we worship, and he's the God over all creation. He's sovereign. And as we read the scripture, man, what a beautiful story that we see Jesus from beginning to the end. We see his gospel is plan A. So I pray that wherever you guys are, we continue to live in that power we celebrate in Easter. Love you guys. And until we gather again, we'll see you soon.